stumbling on disaster, the Battle of Wabash, we in Georgia, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and the Southwest Territory, Spanish West Florida looks pretty nice this time of year.
Stumbling to disaster. Battle of the Wabash. By Epic History. Let's go. If you haven't already, head over to their page. Links in the description box down below. And of course, our Patreon. Head over there too.
Alright, let's do this.
August 1791. For years, the United States Northwest Territory has simmered with violence between Native American tribes and U.S. settlers.
Red Dead 2.
After the humiliation of General Harmar's defeat the previous year, General Arthur Sinclair has orders from President Washington to lead a second attack against tribes of the Northwestern Confederacy, a punitive expedition to ensure future compliance. That summer, Sinclair's force assembles near Fort Washington, today the city of Cincinnati, Ohio. Troops then advance 18 miles to the banks of the Great Miami River and construct a supply base named Fort Hamilton. General Sinclair, however, has to travel 70 miles to Lexington to find his militia reinforcements. In the end, he gets just 400 men, less than half what he'd been promised. In his absence, his second-in-command, Major General Richard Butler, is in charge. 48 years old, Irish-born, Butler had been a distinguished regimental commander in the Revolutionary War, frequently praised by Washington himself. He also has considerable experience of negotiating with the Northwestern Confederacy and knows several of the chiefs personally.
Is that going to be
following Sinclair's orders, as soon as Fort Hamilton is complete, Butler leads the army north. It's October 4th, a late start for what had been planned as a summer campaign. The nights are already colder and days shorter. The army's advance through the forest is painfully slow. Narrow trails have to be widened for wagons and artillery. But there is a dire shortage of axes and saws. For the first 5 days of the advance, the army averages just 4.5 miles a day. When Sinclair rejoins the army, he is infuriated by the snail-like progress. But at every stage, he is hampered by a lack of equipment and supplies. He is particularly concerned about the shortage of flour for baking bread.
Okay. I was thinking about the food.
On October 12th, heavy rain is followed by the first frost. And in freezing mud, Sinclair's army grinds to a halt.
Oh, this is just, it's going to be so much worse.
Conditions for the troops are miserable. It rains constantly.
You're in England,
Rations have been halved, and morale is at rock bottom.
That's how we live.
Soldiers
literally
begin to
rock
desert
bottom.
in growing numbers. Incredibly,
I'm surprised
the 6-month contracts of many levied troops now start to expire mid-campaign. And as soon as their time is up, many, understandably, choose to go home.
Yeah, of course.
9 days into the advance, 40 miles north.
Imagine how lucky you are. Just imagine it, Jack. You got fucking you forced to sign this contract. It was 6 months. You was like, well, I'm gonna fucking die.
It was meant to be a summer contract.
Right? I was gonna die in 2 because I'm going to war. Do you know what I mean? And then someone comes up to you and is like, by the way, that's 6 months. I come up to you and I'm like, Jack, tomorrow that 6-month contract is up. We get to go home. Like, instantly, I'm going to start drinking
I'm
now.
packing my shit, and I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna
There's
try and rob a
no-
bottle of wine for my commander.
There's no fucking way that you're going to
Should be
continue
drunk
on.
for We're gonna need it for the walk home anyway.
We will need it for the walk home. That is a long ass walk, and if you got to do that on your own, whoa,
North
risky.
of Fort Hamilton,
Effort.
Sinclair orders the construction of another supply base. This one will be named Fort Jefferson. It takes 2 weeks to build. Sinclair's decision to secure his supply route in this fashion is militarily prudent, but it's costing a lot of time. And his troops remain cold, wet, and hungry.
Hey,
At Fort Jefferson,
Just not good.
3 soldiers are caught trying to desert. Sinclair decides to make an example of them, and they are hanged.
Jesus Christ! Well, if you wanted to run, you ain't doing
The
that
army
anymore.
is now
Yeah,
down to
definitely not.
1,500 men.
You're fucked.
yeah,
Already a
15 is
third of
not
its
enough.
strength has been lost to sickness, desertion, or left behind to garrison forts.
I'd rather be left behind
Things
the
are
garrison of
so
Fort.
bad,
Yeah,
Sinclair considers turning back. He himself is suffering agonizing attacks of gout that leave him unable to ride a horse.
Wait a minute, what?
But
Wait a minute, what? Gout is a rich man's food, right? So is he still eating well whilst out there and the rest of his men aren't?
You know what gout is, don't you?
Yeah, it's like your legs start going, like, I think it's to do with your blood sugar, right? You start losing, like, access to your feet and your legs. I know that much. And I'm pretty sure it's to do with eating a certain type of food.
Causes sudden and swelling severe pain in your joints. Symptoms of gout include sudden pain and swelling in joints such as your big toe and knees. An attack of gout can be treated. Fuck that.
Yeah,
Yeah, red meats including beef, lamb, pork, bacon,
there you go. Yeah. So it's not sugars, it's red meats.
trout, scallops, sardine, anchovies, mussels, tuna.
Yeah.
Liver, tripe, sweetbreads, brain, and kidneys.
Yeah.
So it's literally what.
So, like, was he still eating well out there, or was it just a condition he had already?
He must be still eating good out there.
That's what I'm thinking. Now I'm not happy
That's
about.
that's peak for gout though, bro.
Oh, brother.
he decides to continue the advance. A few days later, it begins to snow, and the army, having again run out of flour, halts once more.
Mm-hmm. They're gonna get fucking ambushed here, aren't they?
It seems somewhat extraordinary that the tribes have allowed us to be here so long in the interior of their country and never looked at us. That's a good point.
As U.S. troops await supplies, Little Turtle and fellow commanders of the Northwestern Confederacy have been formulating their response to the expedition. They have observed the slow progress of Sinclair's force and already picked off a few stragglers and deserters. They know their forces are now evenly matched in numbers.
That's it. They've lost.
So rather than retreat, as they'd done the previous year, the chiefs decide to challenge the U.S. Army head-on
Interesting.
in battle.
They know
The dense
the
woodland
surrounding
and
area.
their experience as hunters and warriors will give them an advantage. Yet, it is a break with their usual hit-and-run tactics
Yeah, so
and
it's no.
extremely high risk. But so too are the stakes.
Makes sense of the way you're doing it.
Yeah, you've got it to equal numbers. at
General
this point.
Sinclair is oblivious to the looming threat. His handful of scouts from the allied Chickasaw tribe have failed to detect the large enemy force.
Cap. I call cap. They knew it was coming, and they were like, "We're gonna let it happen. We're gonna stand at the back, and then when it all kicks off, we're gonna fuck off." I bet you that's what's gonna happen.
There's no way that you don't see it. Like
No.
you know You know the area.
You know the area.
You know they're there, but there's no way you missed it. No.
They're your cousins. You don't want to kill them. I get it.
You were even having a little bit of Brokeback Mountain time with your boy, right? Or, you know, whatever, yeah. But you definitely knew that was happening.
Now he makes a fateful decision.
No, don't ever come near me, cuz. Brother, I'll be punching you.
Expecting a vital flour convoy to arrive any day.
No.
He fears it will be hijacked by deserters from his own army. So he dispatches Major Hamtramck.
Wait, I'm sorry, go back. What did he say about the
men of the first
army?
Expecting a vital flour convoy to arrive any day, he fears it will be hijacked by deserters from his own army.
Okay.
So he dispatches Major Hamtramck and 300 men of the 1st Regiment, his best troops, to find the convoy and escort it safely to the army.
I know, this is his best
he resumes his march.
Exactly. So, like, what I'm saying is he's about to run into a trap without his best men.
Believing himself to be within striking distance of his target, Kiki-Anki.
Yes.
Although in reality completely lost, he gives the order to set up camp. He chooses a position atop a steep-sided plateau beside the Wabash River. Trusting to the strong natural defenses, he gives no order to fortify the camp. And while most of the army bivouacs in rectangular formation on the high ground, limited space means the militia companies have to camp 300 yards away, on the other side of the Wabash.
No.
Here.
Oh, you have not done this before, mate, have you? Oh, no.
If I ever do this, just punch me in the face. If I was to ever do this type of thing, just punch me in the face and just go, what the fuck are you doing? We are not splitting our forces across two sides of a fucking river.
This is gonna
right? What are you fucking doing? And tell the men to build some fucking forts. Just dig a hole at the very least. Like a fucking hole around it. Oh, I'd be fuming. Laziness.
I see you. You haven't liked the video yet. Why not? Go on. Go like it. While you're at it, you know you want to subscribe. And if you want to go to our social medias, all the links you need are in the description box down below. And you might as well head over to our Patreon as well, where you can get extra bonus content if you're enjoying this. That link's in the description box down below. But we'll get straight back into the video. Love you guys.
Boris Johnson's 422.
If there is an attack, it will be very difficult for either camp to support the other. At that moment, more than 1,000 warriors of the Northwestern Confederacy are assembling, just 2.5 miles away. They know exactly where the U.S. forces are, and the next morning, at dawn, they will attack.
Yep. We can do nothing unless assisted by our great Father above. I pray that tomorrow he will cause the sun to shine out upon us, and we will take it as a token of good, and we shall conquer.
Blue Jacket, speak! Yeah, bro, I'll be piped up for that.
In the cold early morning darkness of November 4th, 1,200 warriors move into position.
The urge.
They are in a crescent formation.
I was thinking the same thing.
On the left,
he hasn't started yet.
Ojibwe and Potawatomi warriors.
Oh, God.
On the right, Wyandot, Mingo, and Cherokee. And in the center, Shawnee, Lenape, and Miami. Just before 7 a.m., with the sun's first light streaking through the trees, they let out a giant war cry. In the U.S. camp, soldiers are making breakfast. Rumors swirl of recent sightings of Native Americans. Reports which have not been passed to General Sinclair.
The militia are dead, right?
Now,
rumors,
militia
and they're just having
sentries
breakfast,
to the west
bro.
are horrified to see hundreds of warriors advancing through the trees. They fire their weapons and run.
That's just run.
pursued by a hail of musket balls.
Oh, got that.
That's
The
it.
inexperienced militia are taken completely by
And
surprise.
wiped out entirely.
They fire a few shots and either run or are cut down where they stand.
Yep.
Their camp is overrun in minutes. Survivors scrambling through the freezing water of the Wabash and up the slope to the main camp.
You have to.
Here, U.S. regulars and levy regiments are stood too, alerted by the sound of war
gonna get
cries
shot.
and musket fire. Their 6 cannon are loaded and ready to fire. But panic-stricken militia rushing into camp block their line of fire. And it is difficult to target an enemy who moves in small groups, dashing from cover to cover. When the guns do open fire, their shots go high, crashing through branches overhead. While Miami, Shawnee, and Lenape warriors make a frontal attack on the camp, focusing attention,
Brave going
the
across
2
that
wings
river.
of the Native American Army push through the woods to encircle Sinclair's camp. U.S.
go.
outposts are quickly overrun or flee back to camp.
Oh, just letting yourselves get fucking.
Firing from
I'd say,
cover,
Jack, we need to hide.
Native American
We need to stay with as
sharpshooters
many
begin
people
to
just in
pick
case
off
they come
U.S. gun
fucking
crews
shoot.
and officers.
Sharpshooter.
Yeah.
Within 30 minutes, a quarter of Sinclair's force are casualties
Shit.
or have fled into the woods. More men are falling every minute. Sinclair
Fucking
recognizes the danger his army is in and orders Lieutenant Colonel Dark, commanding the 1st Levy Regiment, to clear the rear of the camp. Dark takes 5
Dark, can
companies,
you get this
about
done?
300 men, and leads them forward in a wheeling bayonet charge to the right.
Okay. You're leaving
He
the
is
other side
supported
out.
by 50 mounted dragoons on the
Nice.
left. Wyandotte warriors fall back before them. But it is a trap.
They're gonna get encircled.
They are luring the U.S. troops out of position. By the time they reach Buck Run Creek, they're cut off and surrounded. The Wyandottes renew their attack, inflicting heavy losses on Dark's men as they fall back to camp. Meanwhile, Shawnee
so
warriors
idiotic.
attack the southern end of the camp, where the slope is less steep.
Oh.
They overwhelm dragoons and levy troops guarding the perimeter and break into the center of the camp.
Fuck.
Here they fall on wounded soldiers and civilians sheltering behind the front line. These include camp followers, servants, cooks, wives, a few children.
Scalping them, bro.
Dozens are killed. Sinclair sends Major Hart, commanding the 2nd Regiment, to clear the camp at Bayonet Point and rescue any survivors.
Can he get it done?
Hart's attack is successful, but he is shot and killed, and his men suffer heavy losses.
Shit.
About half the U.S. regular officers are now dead, and 2nd in command Major General Butler has been wounded twice.
Are they gonna get wiped out? It looks like they're gonna get wiped out, right?
Some soldiers, stunned by the horrors unfolding around them, simply give up and cower behind any cover they can find. It is now 8:30 a.m.
It's been
A
an
short
hour.
lull in the
right?
fighting follows, which Sinclair uses to pull in his perimeter and form a tighter defense.
Ooh.
It
Okay.
is the quiet before the storm. Little Turtle and the war chiefs are rallying their men for one final attack.
It is gonna
Jesus,
be
a savage.
savage, Jack. Savage.
But
Yeah, go on.
I wanna. The natives should have kept their land, but I'm interested to see what really goes on.
Yeah. I'm interested to see
Because
how
they're cleaning
they're
up. at the
cleaning
moment.
up at the moment. Do you know what I
They're-
mean?
They're,
Like,
they're putting up a good fight, man.
they are indeed. Fucking hell. Exposed to a crossfire, men and officers were falling in every direction. A few minutes longer and a retreat would have been impracticable. Delay was death. Lieutenant Denny, aide-de-camp to General Sinclair.
Two hours have passed since the initial attack,
2 hours.
and Sinclair sees that if they do not break out through the enemy lines now, his entire force will be wiped out. The handful of surviving officers rally the men for a do-or-die charge, back down the trail by which they'd arrived. With fixed bayonets, U.S. regulars lead the way, pushing through the enemy's skirmish
Go,
line.
boys.
Anyone who can still walk hurries behind.
Yeah, you have to.
But dozens of wounded are left to their fate.
I'm picking you up on my
Breakout
back, bro. Don't
soon
worry.
turns into a mad dash as terrified survivors
Fuck you.
store weapons and kit in their race to escape.
Nah, look, they're dumping shit.
Sinclair
You can't.
lingers at the rear
You gotta
of the
run,
column
bro.
to ensure as many get clear as possible.
Okay, well done.
He is one of the last to leave the battlefield.
Oh, no.
Nice.
Warriors pursue the shattered U.S. Army for several miles. Then they return to the campsite to loot and finish off the wounded.
They should have pursued. They
Among
should have
them,
pursued.
Major General Butler.
Shit.
The warriors of the Northwestern Confederacy celebrate into the night. The Battle of the Wabash, which would come to be known as Sinclair's defeat, is over.
Did I not, in the last words I said to him, warn him against a surprise? President Washington, on receiving the news of Sinclair's defeat.
The U.S. rout doesn't stop until exhausted survivors reach Fort Jefferson that evening, a distance of 30 miles. Here, the roll is taken, and their appalling losses revealed. 2/3 of the army have been either killed, wounded, or are missing.
No, they're dead.
Yeah.
All 6 guns have been lost, along with the baggage train and 1,200 muskets. Native American losses are around 20 dead and 40 wounded.
Nuts.
It has been an utter rout and a humiliating defeat, the largest the United States Army will ever suffer against Native Americans, and costlier than any battle of the Revolutionary War.
Yeah, after what they did to Hiroshima.
They're talking about just America, but yeah, you got a point. And to answer your question earlier, with how it's gonna go, vengeance. I
Yeah,
think the Americans are gonna come back with vengeance.
they're gonna come back with more.
But it was not entirely unforeseen. General
Okay.
Harmar, defeated himself by Little Turtle the previous year, had expressed grave concerns about Sinclair's expedition.
Interesting.
His
okay.
views were recorded by Lieutenant Denny, unfortunate enough to have served in both expeditions.
Damn.
Yeah.
Harmar
okay.
saw with what material the bulk of the army was composed. Men collected from the streets and prisons of the cities, hurried out into the enemy's country, and the officers commanding them totally unacquainted with the business in which they were engaged. Not any one department was sufficiently prepared. Both quartermaster and contractors extremely deficient.
Shit.
It was a matter of astonishment to him that the commanding general, who was acknowledged to be perfectly competent, should think of hazarding, with such people and under such circumstances, his reputation and life, and the lives of so many others.
What made him think he could do
Knowing,
it
too,
then?
the enemy with whom he was going to contend, an enemy perhaps superior to an equal number of the best men that could be taken against them.
The best of the best. They had the luxury of that. Got a good point.
Sinclair's defeat led to the United States' first congressional investigation. Their report cleared Sinclair of personal blame, but found a long list of failures in the preparation and execution of his campaign.
Okay. Interesting, fair.
The next U.S. general sent to take on the Northwestern Confederacy, General Mad Anthony Wayne, would first impose major reforms on the U.S. Army. He would insist on more resources, greater professionalism, improved training and tactics, and better reconnaissance.
Reconnaissance is needed.
For the Native Americans, the Battle of the Wabash was a brilliant victory, won through courage and tactical skill. It marks out Little Turtle, Blue Jacket, and Bakongahelas as among the most successful native leaders of all time in the wars against the United States.
Okay.
But it also proves to be the high point of their resistance.
What a shame.
Their enemy would soon escalate the Northwest Indian War, and under the leadership of General Wayne, bring it to a conclusion at the Battle of Fallen Timbers. The inexorable westward march of the United States would continue.
And it will get far, far more.
Can't wait for more Epic History video.
More.
Mad.
We absolutely love Epic History TV over here, or Epic History. They do amazing content. So if you haven't already, head over to their page. That link's in the description box down below. And Jack, I'm looking forward to the next one, aren't you?
Yes.
So if you guys are, head over to their page. And of course, head over to our Patreon where you can get early reactions. That link's in the description box down below. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We will catch you in the next video.
Shotgun on Party Brew.